I would like to sincerely greet the viewers of our third video. Today we'll be talking about skills. In the first two videos we got familiar with the basics, which rules are there in our business, what internal psychological attitude is necessary for it, and how a sales organization is built. Because it's not only the registration of new Vivasan consultants or clients, there is much more to it. That is what I try to explain in my second video. One of the most important subjects to be discussed here is the skills that you need to build a really good structure. Look, everybody who starts working or everybody who gets familiar with the system is sure to ask one question. This is the first question that worries them. Where do I get those people? Because I need a lot of people in my structure. Where do I get all those people from? What should I tell those people? How will I invite them? How I will register those people? How can I quickly create a big and working structure? And very often people put their hands down and give up at this very simple thought because they are unable to imagine that sooner or later, certainly not in a month, but after some time, maybe a year or a couple of years, they will have a big sales structure with several thousand people, and they don't have a clue as for how it could be done. Today I will explain to you how it is done. I will tell you which skills are needed for it and how they should work in practice. Before we start talking about skills, I would like to start with one phrase. If you want to make money in our Vivasan business, then you should understand the following thing. You help people, you solve problems, and you make money in the process. Once again, since it is very important, you help people, you solve problems, and you make money by doing so. And this is not a marketing slogan invented by the Vivasan company. This is our approach to business. Let's imagine the following situation. Let's assume that I'm telling you that if you want to build a structure, you should find a lot of people. You should find those who will be interested. You have to talk to them. You have to get them registered. What are you feeling about that? Most of you would ask, what will I tell those people and how I'll be talking to them? An unpleasant feeling. But what if you really have a deep feeling, and that really is the very essence of our business, isn't it? That we are not just selling some products to make money from that, but we solve problems, that we consult people to help them. And this is our work, and we're making our well-earned money from it. That's when you'll have an absolutely different approach to business and to how you'll be taking your further steps. This is an important phrase, and never forget about it, no matter what. So let's talk about the first subject. Before we start talking about skills, there's one important point. All our steps you take, all that you do in our business is always split into four main stages, namely gathering information, then you should learn and upgrade the obtained skills. I hope you have a person who is helping you, a sponsor or a leader. Then you should take actions, and the actions bring about results. And those results you have to analyze. This is very important. Some people think that it goes without saying, but somehow they do not do it. No matter what you do in our business, you must act according to the scheme. Let's get down to point one. So how can I find those who will be interested? There is a very big danger of misunderstanding this issue. Most people fail in business due to the following. If you have visited a business presentation and told yourself, yes, I want to be successful in this business, what are you doing then? You find 5 people, the first 5 people come into your head, and you approach them having no knowledge, no preparation, no oratorical skills. You talk to those 5. The conversations are on a corresponding level and end in 5 refusals. And for most people, this is the end of their career in direct sales. End of story. But it could be quite different if a person has a system, a strategy, and skills. And I will tell you about that now. First of all, you should put together a list of 100 of your family and friends. And please don't think now about how you will start talking to them. Just gather information. You are gathering information. How is it done? Take a sheet of paper or use a computer if it's more convenient for you, and write down a list of people who come to your head, just from memory. Having done that, look through your email. Perhaps there will be some more contacts there who are not on your list. Perhaps you're an active user of social networks. Maybe you'll find contacts there missing from your list. Then take your phone. Every person has a mobile phone. Open your contacts. Perhaps there are people there who are not on your list. Then think of the organizations you're in contact with for business or socially. Perhaps there will be people there missing from your list. Many people would see a huge problem here and say, "Oh my God, but they are my family and friends. I will have to contact them, talk to them, talk business with them, discuss the products." Don't forget, you are a person who solves problems. And your family and friends also have problems. As for your closest relatives, certainly you will not be selling them products. This is not necessary. We are not speaking about selling products. We're speaking about passing over information. And on the basis of that information, something good may happen. Your closest relatives probably also have their list, and there will be people there who are not on your list. And this may turn out to be very valuable for you. What you should not do on that stage is to give assessments. This guy is too young, this one is too old, that one is too handsome, any kind of assessments. You shouldn't do that because now you're just gathering information. Everybody is valuable, and the people on your list are equally valuable. This is the basis for us to start. And now the next problem. Some people would say, okay, I have a list of 100 to 150 people, and what should I do with them now? What will happen when I exhaust all that list? Some people have agreed, some people haven't, and I have made a small turnover. What is next? Is that all? And that's where many people make their biggest mistake. They focus on a list of 100 family and friends. However, they don't understand that finding your interested people and getting your contacts is a lifelong task. Over the whole of your time with Vivasan, you should be in a constant search for new contacts. Many people can't understand this. All the time I hear people say, my structure has stopped growing because I've exhausted my list of 100 family and friends. What has happened? A very simple thing. Two decisive mistakes have been made. The first one, the person hasn't been expanding his list, and we'll be talking about that right now. Second, in his structure, there is no system of searching for new interested people. There will be a separate video on this subject, and today I just want to underscore the importance of this. But how can you expand your list? There are several options. Suppose on your list there is a friend named Igor. Ask yourself the following question. Do I know any people who know Igor and who are not on my list? Perhaps some effort should be made to do that. And at first it may seem complicated. But in reality, this is not at all complicated. You should think about each person on your list. Are there any people whom I know and who knows this person and who have not yet made it to my list? And by doing so, you are reaching out to your further contacts. Then set yourself a task to make at least 2 new contacts each day. But here, please listen very attentively. I do not want you to make 2 new acquaintances and start immediately telling them about Vivasan. This would just be silly. Stop doing that. You are just establishing the 2 contacts, and you are doing it in an absolutely neutral way. And the third thing, don't get lost, always be in touch. What I mean here, look, let's think about successful people. Let's think about the person who is a big success and whom you admire. Does he live a life of hermit in his home? No, the guy is socializing. He's among people. The guy is not sitting at home alone before his TV. He is permanently among people. He is always visible. And it didn't take him one day to become successful. It took him months and years of doing his business every day. Join sports clubs, join a club of amateur chefs, start doing yoga or whatever you like. Try to get as many social contacts as you can. I will explain what I mean here. If you are constantly talking to people, and this is the fourth and the most important subject called networking, which has to be understood in this system. This term means that a person is building a network of contacts for himself. This is done not only only for the Vivasan business, but is a big help for it, because it's the context that means success in the business. The contacts are its very foundation. With the help of networking, which means building and maintaining contacts, you make your life easier. And the same is true for successful people. Why they are successful? Because they have a big network of contacts. Not all of them work for Vivasan or any other company, but those people help you. If you are getting many contacts, what happens with them? Some of the new contacts become your close friends or good acquaintances with whom you do sports together or spend your time in any other way. Others may become excellent business partners. How can you know this in advance? And they will become your partners. You should just have patience. And the third group of people are those who help you in solving all kinds of problems. For example, your daughter is going to a university, but she has problems with admission. Perhaps you have a contact who can help you there. Everyone knows how it happens in life. We always either know somebody who can help or try to find him. So the more people you are in contact with, the easier is your life. For an outsider, it seems that life is easier for the successful people. And why? Because they have a lot of contacts, but they have built those contacts themselves. They were not sitting at home. And certainly some contacts remain just contacts. That is what I mean by finding interested people. To build contacts is a skill. How to make contacts, how to have the first conversation, this I will tell you right now. For the time being, the point in question is to understand the importance of that. To understand that if you want to be a successful person in any kind of business, you should be constantly in search of new contacts. And now we're getting to the next topic. Let's now focus on your list of 100 family and friends, because sooner or later you have to get in contact with them, because sometime later the business should start working. Here there are two possibilities. The first one is the phone, Skype, WhatsApp, Zoom, or a personal meeting. That is a direct contact. And the second possibility is social networks. I will be telling you about that a little later. When you meet with a person or call him on the phone, what are you doing? You are asking him certain questions that you always ask, no matter what. You should only know how long you have not seen him. When was the last time you talked to him? How are you doing? How are you today? Long time no see. What have you been doing all those years? And a lot of similar questions. That is, you're asking him absolutely normal and natural questions. Now we're at the stage of initiating a contact, at the stage of inviting him to a presentation. Remember this point, inviting him to a presentation. But the presentation itself is still out of the question. We do not discuss Vivasan during this conversation. If possible, the Vivasan company should not be mentioned at all. This is a conversation to establish contact with a person from your list of 100 family and friends. And you will get an answer to your question. And here we have the following problem, because many people do not listen to that answer. Let's consider a small and trivial example. I'm asking, how are you doing? To which my acquaintance is telling me, listen, I have problems with my kids. They are not focused in class. Probably it's about their age of 12 or 13. They cannot concentrate, they get bad grades, and all the time I have to go to school and talk to the teacher. She constantly explains to me what's to be done, but nothing works. So the situation is not an easy one. If you say to that, you know, and I bought a new car a month ago, and can you imagine, it's already the time to get it fixed. What kind of conversation that is? It's not a conversation at all. It will be the end of it. Because in this particular case, you are not talking to a person just for fun. You have a certain goal. You want to consult him. You want to apply and practice all that you have learned during the training. You want sooner or later to start making money. You want to build a structure, which means that now you should listen. What problems does your interlocutor have? Because as a rule, when answering, people are telling you about the things that worry them. If you ask a person how he's doing, no one would tell you something that he was thinking about 20 years ago. The person would tell you what worries him now. It could be both positive and negative. Don't forget, we have solutions to almost all the problems. Problems with health, the lack of communication, financial problems. We will always have specific solutions that could be offered by the Vivasan company. You should just know about that. So listen to your interlocutor. The next stage in a conversation is giving answers depending upon what the other guy is saying. What is the best way to answer? I think you already had such an experience. when you are telling somebody about the problem and the other guy goes like, I do understand you, and you already feel a little better now. It means that you should show your understanding of your interlocutor's problem. Perhaps you had a similar problem before, or a friend of yours had the same problem. So, having received an answer, you're moving to the next stage. Now it's important to have a small story at the ready. Let's get back to my previous example. It's hard for the kids to study. They have problems with concentration, so let's start. What problem did you or anybody else have before? This is very important, because thus you let the other person know that this situation is well known to you. You had exactly the same problem or a similar one. So you can say, for example, you know, I understand you perfectly well because I had the same problem before. My kids wouldn't study and the history and geography classes were just a disaster, bad grades all the time, I had to visit the teachers all the time, and all the time they were giving me some advice but nothing helped. This is the first part, and now let's move to the next one. You've got some advice and some information, doesn't matter from whom. We're not talking about Vivasan, we're only talking about the advice that you've just got. An example, I met a friend of mine, I told her about this problem, to which she said, do you know that there is a very simple way to cope with that? You only need a diffuser and some essential oils. I will show you those oils, you'll be able to try it, just take them and try. The kids will get more attentive, they will calm down and will be able to better focus on their studies. That's what I did. I bought a diffuser, bought some oils, then I mixed them, and you know, it really worked, not immediately, but gradually, day by day, it started getting better and better. And now, they have perfect results. The kids get good grades, they are motivated, and they like to study at school. This is a small and rather trivial example, but it shows you how a conversation could be built. You don't have to take rhetoric classes for that. You should just talk to a person the way you always do. However, always bringing the conversation to the topic you need. And the starting point here is the other person's problem, because that's exactly why in the majority of cases the other person starts asking questions. And how exactly did you do that? And what specifically did you use? And can you tell me about that? And so on. Thus the person develops a need for information. Your interlocutor says, aha, this guy seems to be able to solve my problem. Let me ask him some more questions. And now a very important aspect kicks in. At this stage, many people make a big mistake. Pretty often, people immediately start talking for hours about Vivasan. Instead, you should awaken the other person's curiosity. To do so, there exist the so-called activating questions. If I send you a catalog, will you have a look at it? Or, if I send you a link, will you have a look at the information? Or, if I invite you, will you come? Those are the activating questions which are usually not asked. If I do this, will you do that? But it's a very important point in such a situation. Why is it important? On the one hand, your interlocutor wants to get information, and on the other hand, you're activizing him by saying, look, I will give you this thing, and you will do some other thing for me. Why such questions should be asked? Think for yourself. How many links did you receive on Skype, by email, or on Instagram, or Facebook, for example? How many catalogs you've been sent or given as a gift? You received tons of them. But did they have any kind of value for you? Not at all. As a rule, people don't even open those catalogs, and usually they don't visit other sites either. And why? Just because it doesn't have any value for them. A person just receives them and that's it. But if you ask him a question, if I do something for you, will you do something for me? Then a person will have at least to think about whether he will really do it. And if he starts thinking about that, he already starts considering it as something that is more or less necessary for him. And this is very important. It's not very hard, and you only have to ask one of these three questions, and then as a rule you'll get such an answer. Yes, I'd rather have a look. Yes. Then the next question is asked, when do you think I can call you? When do you think you will have a look at the site? Or when do you think you'll have a look at the catalog? Now you're asking this kind of questions. When do you think? They, for example, may sound as follows. And when you're really going to do it, when we'll have a look at the site, people will be surprised, certainly, why he's asking me such things. Some people may say in 3 or 4 days, others may ask, actually, why you're asking me about this? And you go, because I want to know, how can I help you? That is, now you need a more definite and obliging answer to the question when a guy is going to have a look. And then you are moving to the next stage. When is it a good time to call you? Or if on July the 12th I invite you to the presentation, will you be able to come? Is it a good day for you? Those are the questions you should ask. When it will be convenient for you to meet with me? These are the activating questions, enabling you to establish a contact with a person. They are aimed at activating people, at pushing them towards certain actions. It is an invitation to the presentation, no matter what form this presentation may have. And the activating questions are always used for this purpose. And first of all, one principle is important here. You should gather a lot of yes answers. The more of those yes answers you gather, the higher are your chances to really have a Vivasan presentation for your interlocutor. So, up till now, we only invited people to a presentation. We motivated people by asking several questions, by our understanding, by a small story. With all those things, you can motivate people. Some people will probably be thinking now, oh, how complicated this all. That's what I've been telling you in the first video. The biggest problem for the majority of the people is to learn other lines of behavior. Many people fail in our business because they haven't worked out the correct line of behavior, because they don't have a correct approach or strategy. That is why they fail. Not because the business is bad or impossible, because that's not the case. In reality, this happens because they don't have a correct strategy. Many people think that this is too hard a strain for them to talk to people in this way. Okay, if even this is already hard work for you, then probably you shouldn't do this business. But you want to be a success, don't you? You want to meet with more people, you want to build good contacts, and sooner or later to create your successful business in Vivasan on the basis of all this. That is why you should get used to learning those skills and then to practicing them. So an invitation to a presentation, no matter how it is made, be it on Skype or by any other means, has the following stages. I will repeat it once again. The first stage is making and developing a contact. How to build a conversation, how to maintain it, how to get the yes answers and come to a mutual understanding with your interlocutor. After telling him your story, good chances appear that questions will be asked by your interlocutor or prospective client. Then you should offer him some information materials which have to be sold. Yes, the information materials have to be sold, but not for money, but in exchange for emotions. They should be sold emotionally. If I do something, will you do something? It's already a sale in a way. Then comes the next stage, activation. When do you think you will be able to look at it? A business plan, a catalog link, a website, doesn't matter. When will you have a look? When can I call you? Or if I invite you, will you come? So, with the help of these several phrases, you have practically brought a person to a point of agreeing to listen to a presentation you're planning. In social networks, you should act a little differently. Perhaps many people would criticize me here and say that this is old school. This is all used to work before and it doesn't work now. That today we're all interconnected through social networks. Okay, it seems to be the case. Very many people are active users of social networks. This is a fact. Billions of people. Why? The point is that people like communicating with one another because they are social animals, and you can do it very fast and easy through social networks. However, you need to cause trust so that the result of this communication will become business or product sales, and this is a very hard thing to do in social networks. Many people are trying to assure us that this is possible, but in reality the picture looks different. Less than 1% of the contacts you are making through all the social networks become real contacts, that is business contacts, when you are either selling the products or getting a guy registered. Now just imagine that you have 1,000 contacts, and by the way, you should first think about how to get this 1,000, and out of of these 1,000 contacts, you will get 10 people who will build business together with you, or at least buy something. Watch our first video about the revenue possibilities in the Vivasan company. You'll be staying at the hobby stage even after 1,000 contacts, which means that in social networks you will have no free ride either. It doesn't come automatically. In social networks, you should first get a lot of contacts, and this could only be done if you publish posts which are interesting for people. But when you only open your account in social networks, you're a nobody there at first, nobody knows you. You should somehow draw people's attention, and how it could be done. You start publishing posts, you have to learn, because you'll have to learn a lot to work in social networks. Go to YouTube and watch the best way to write posts, the best way to put hashtags, and there is a lot of other aspects there which you have to learn. It's not enough just to publish a short post with a couple of phrases. This should be learned. How to draw people's attention. As a rule, long-time bloggers with hundreds of thousands of subscribers have invested a lot in advertising, because Google doesn't advertise anybody for free. Then you should write a story, if you have a story. You should write either a story or anything else interesting for the readers and causing questions. Sending links or any other materials electronically by social media doesn't work. Often people send PDF files by social networks, but it gives them nothing. Nobody opens them and reads them. In your post, you should have something that would cause interest and questions, and people will then react to your post by asking people or showing interest in getting information, and you will have to act the same way I've been already telling you about. If I do something for you, will you do something for me? The only difference is that you will have to write this. And another important aspect in the social networks, at the end of the conversation, you should agree to talking on Skype or phone to make a contact. This is the most efficient way for maintaining and developing contacts and for inviting people to a presentation. Let's get down to the next skill, the basis for a good and professional presentation. Here, the 4 aspects should be taken into account. First, it's your interlocutor and not you who is in the center stage. With the help of the presentation, you solve the other person's problems. It doesn't matter how well versed you are, what you can do, and what you are doing. We'll be talking about that later. Now it's important to have your interlocutor in the center stage. Second, you are the person who solves problems. This means that you should be very well versed in our business, and this means that you should be very knowledgeable about our products. If you are not very knowledgeable about those things, then you don't know how to solve the problem, and you won't be able to make a presentation either. There is another important point. I wouldn't like to scare you, but here I would like to run a little ahead, because it's very important for the presentation. If something does work, it's a good thing. But what is even more important for you is the possibility of duplication. What is duplication? In the following videos, we'll get back to this question, and then you'll have a better understanding of this. So what is duplication? As you have already understood, and I will tell it once again for all the newbies, after the guy gets registered, he also starts registering people under him, and the bigger his structure gets, the higher is his revenue and his turnover, which is logical. Look at the left-hand portion of the slide on that trapeze. That's how working duplication looks like. The upper line are those people whom you have registered, and the lower you go, the more people you have. Why does it work this way? Because information and knowledge are transferred with the help of the system. But I know a lot of people who have a different picture. It rather resembles an inverted trapeze, like on the right-hand scheme, for example. On the top we have you. This is the sponsor and a long line beneath him. But the deeper you go into the structure, the fewer people you have in this line. This is a negative example. That's the way the structure looks with those people who do not become leaders, don't have chances to become big-time leaders, because everything always depends only on them. They work with their wide first line, and at the same time nothing is duplicated down, because they don't have a training system or a consulting system, because they highly overestimate their own importance, or because they do nothing at all and work either randomly or in any other way. These structures never get big. They are unable to grow, though there is a big structure above them. The information is not transferred down and doesn't reach the bottom, so there is no development there. Later you will see how to avoid these problems. Here I just wanted to mention them, running a little ahead. 4. Enthusiasm. What you should get across at the presentation is your enthusiasm, your positive feelings and emotions, your inspiration. But you will only be able to do this if you are well trained and know what you are talking about. Now let's get down to the presentation itself. The presentation is exactly the point when we can start speaking about Vivasan, about the possibilities offered by it, when we give information to our prospective clients. Once again, to make it easier for you, we have discussed how to find those who will be interested, how to make contacts and how to build them. We've also discussed how to invite people to a presentation, no matter how this presentation looks like. Whether it's for a group or a one-on-one conversation, the forms could be different. We have also discussed how to better activate people so that they would be willing to listen to the presentation. Now let's talk about the presentation itself. Depending upon where the conversation is going, there are two types of presentations, a business presentation and a product one. Let's start with business. There is a reason why you're watching this video. Why are you watching this video? Certainly no client who is only interested in Vivasan products and who wants to know something about them will watch this video. It is for those who have a motivation to build a new business or to improve the existing one, to expand it, to take it to a new direction of development. So there is a certain reason linked to your past making you watch this video. Let's move on. Let's assume that at a contact making stage your interlocutor is telling you, I have a serious problem. I work 40 hours a week under stress. I only make enough money to last until the 20th of every month. No chance for development, only crises. I'm not sure if I have a job next month or in a month, and my wife lost her job 2 months ago. So we are already in a crisis situation. So we have a problem from the business realm. And now you should be able to give an answer to this problem by telling your story. Your story has 4 parts. The first part is your past. Describe what made your life so hard, how you were unable to do something any longer or something you were unhappy with. The second part is the way out, what information you have found. The third part is what you have done. And the fourth part is the result achieved. Let's discuss the scheme using a small example. So, your interlocutor has told you that he is unhappy. To this you reply, you know, I understand you. Some 3 or 4 months ago I had a similar problem, and I haven't solved it yet. I'm not sure whether I will have a job several months later. You know it yourself what kind of time we're living in. The pandemic, companies are being closed, many firms have no turnover, and there is a lot of other problems on top of that. My wife is out of job. In a word, I have the same problem as you have, and soon the kids are going to a university, and the tuition there is not free either, and I still don't have a clue how I will pay for all that. So it turns out that you found yourself in a similar situation. The other person has told you what is worrying him, what his problem is. Is there anything positive you can tell him in return? Something like this. A couple of months ago, I met a friend of mine, and she told me how one can treat the illness from which my kids and pretty often my wife suffer. And I also learned by chance that with the Vivasan company manufacturing those products, you can make money. The Vivasan products are manufactured in Switzerland, and with the help of this company, you can do your own business. At first, I wasn't very much impressed by that, but then I visited a couple of workshops and presentations, I got a little training, and came to a conclusion that actually I could try starting this business. So I started it, my sponsor helped me, and I have a wonderful sponsor, he's a good leader. He started teaching me how to take first steps, how to establish contacts with people. I've been doing this for a couple of months and already started making my first small money. I already make from 150 to 200 francs per month in my free time. And by the way, this is already every month. And now I have a plan to start making from 1,000 to 1,500 francs a year. And believe me, I need 1 year max. And I will quit my job and get completely involved in this business. Look, without any exaggerations, you have told him a little bit about the business, without any exaggerations or beautiful speeches. You see, it doesn't make sense to go to rhetoric training courses where they teach you how, with all kinds of rhetoric devices and eloquence, to convince people to buy something they do not need or something they don't have a clue about. I don't want it either. I don't need such kind of people. I don't want to convince people to use the product they do not want to buy. I don't want to convince people to do the business which they do not want to start. I'm just telling them my story. Certainly, I can tell them the story in a different way. You should just think about what kind of story you will have about the business. You should think calmly about that. Why have you started working with Vivasan? Why are you watching this video? Why are you trying yourself in direct sales? Because there is a reason behind that. That is why you can tell people the story. You can tell them who has given you advice, what helped you, and which results you obtained. And if you have been with the company for a long time and have achieved more serious results, then speak about those results. If you still don't have any results, think about the structure above you. Most probably there is a person in the structure who have already achieved the results which you're only trying to achieve. Be guided by the story of this person, but don't tell a story about himself, but a story about yourself and your success, even if it's not very impressive for the time being. That's how a business presentation looks like. The presentation will certainly be followed by questions because you told very little. Whether it's a reliable company, can one work with this firm at all, how long have they been on the market, do they have serious products at all, because very often people say a lot of bad things about them, etc. I hope you have a tablet, a notebook or a smartphone. Then you can continue the presentation with the help of the vivasanbusiness.com website. Now you're able to answer all the questions about the revenues, about what has to be done at the first stage, because now we're just providing information. How long the company has been on the market? What is the reason behind its existence? What are the notable advantages of Vivasan products, bioavailability, etc.? Now you can give your interlocutor more detail about all those things with the help of our website. The next topic is the products. If you are going to dwell on the products in more detail, and after the first contact-making conversation, you already know which topic you should focus on. Let's get down to this topic: how the product presentation is made. As was the case with the business, you should not lecture for hours about the products. Here, the same key aspects are important. Your past experience, or perhaps you have an acquaintance who used to have the same problem, for example, the same problem with health. This problem arose either because of the wrong lifestyle or due to any other reason, because people have a lot of different health problems, and you will always find a case to be used as an example. Either you yourself had a similar problem, or you know people who have the same problem. Describe it so that your interlocutor would see, aha, he knows a thing or two about that and knows what it's all about. Which problem with health did you have? Speak about the impact of the problem on you, and then where you got the information from. Who told you to use some particular Vivasan products and told you how these products should be used to get a good result. And after that, you may tell him about your results. The same scheme as with business, but now with products. Another important point is that there are 3 websites which will help you: vivasanrussia.ru, vivasangerman.com, and vivasanenglish.com. All those sites show different body parts and problems relating to them. They give information about which problems could be solved with which Vivasan products. That is exactly why we made those websites. And now you can show them to people. It will help you to come up with a good presentation. And in conclusion, a couple of important words about what is necessary for a successful presentation. You yourself should be confident in this product. You should be confident in the business plan and in the Vivasan business. If you do not use the products, if you are not sure about the Vivasan business, then the presentation will give nothing. You should be very well familiar with the Vivasan products. You should very well understand the business plan. And where do you get the information? The information should be given you by your leader or a sponsor, because it's very important. If you have a super leader, a super sponsor, this is fine, this is fantastic. It means that half of the success is already in your pocket. But what should those people do who would say, I don't have a sponsor nor a leader, how can I be successful? I don't have a chance. Think of our first video and the second video as well. Think as an entrepreneur. That is, if I don't have this piece of information, I will find it. I've given you here a list of sources from which you can get information, both about the business and about the products. The website, the internet store, vivasan.com, vivasanrussia.ru, vivasanenglish.com, Vivasan German. We have catalogs, we have stories in the blogs. On the internet you can find a lot of different stories in blogs. There are YouTube channels, and all that is free. There is free literature in our internet store. Workshops are held, as well as lectures by physicians, reports, training sessions. All this is done at the branches, at the offices, at the company's warehouses. There's enough information. Even if you don't have a sponsor or leader, you nevertheless have a chance to master the first three skills pretty fast. And the basis of the first three skills is a very good knowledge of our business and our products. Here I would like to thank you for your patience and for having watched this video. It was somewhat longer than usual because the points discussed here are very important. Watch this video more often, because some things are only understood having been heard for a third or even a fourth time. It is important for you to understand which skills you should master and then use in practice. Thank you.